Vraiment impressionnant. Ce que nos cinéastes peuvent accomplir est magnifique et nous devons tous en être fiers. La cérémonie des Oscars arrive à grands pas et j'aimerais souligner deux superbes succès, Incendie et Barney's Version. Nous sommes vraiment enchantés d'avoir soutenu ces deux films et I won't say anything else because I'm very superstitious. So. And here is another thing that our industry has been able to build, a very deep pool of talent in all aspects of production. The most visible manifestation of this talent pool is our star power. The credits keep rolling and rolling through the years. Our industry turned out stars like Gordon Pinsent, Denis Arcand, Dan Aykroyd, and now we've added the faces you see here: Michael McGowan, Ellen Page, Xavier Dolan, Ryan Gosling, Denis Villeneuve, Deepa Mehta, James Cameron. They might not always be working in Canada, but they're Canadians and they represent our world-class talent. Over the years, we've been thrilled by Norman Jewison, Guy Maiden, Claude Jutras, Atom Egoyan, David Cronenberg, Sarah Polley, and so many others. The list goes on and on. And going back to Field of Dreams, the film is based on a book from William Patrick Kinsella, Shoeless Joe. And guess what? He's Canadian, born in Edmonton. Thanks to Dave Forget for reminding me that. I guess his degree in literature helped him with that as well. L'industrie canadienne a aussi été à la source d'innovations qui ont changé nos façons de faire des films, de la télévision et des projets nouveaux médias. Some of the famous Canadian contributions are in the fields of computer animation and digital effects. Notable among our pioneers are Softimage, BioWare, and IMAX, to name just a few. A world-class product, a deep talent pool, game-changing innovation. That's what we have built. And by any standard, it is considerable. Now let's look at what kind of audiences we hoped or expect we would attract. This industry spent decades raising the standards of the production, talent, and technology to current levels. And if we expected success from our hard work, how were we going to measure that? The famous 5%. And this is where Telefilm and the industry live in slightly different worlds. You live in a wider world where you receive feedbacks for your successes in a variety of ways: critical acclaim, awards, buzz, box office, and future opportunities. But Telefilm's perspective was a bit different. 10 years ago, we targeted a Canadian market share of 5%, expressed only in terms of box office receipts. Since then, it has been the way we've measured your success. We believe that this target was a very good start, and that, in fact, it acted as a springboard for where we can go next. And I'm very excited to be working with the Department of Canadian Heritage on this very point, because we now both realize that the target did not necessarily tell the entire story. Here's a more complete view of the entire story. The chart created by Scotia's Capital measures the Canadian film entertainment market revenues by content type. These are Canadian and not American figures, and the results are very enlightening. Box office only counts for a quarter of revenues. En fait, les ventes de DVD sont beaucoup plus lucratives que les recettes guichet et la location des DVD rapporte presque autant que les recettes guichet. But you know that. Revenues from TV licensing and the digital on-demand services even rival the box office share. To be honest, some of these distribution channels did not exist 10 years ago, but this reality still makes a powerful argument for changing the way we measure things today. And while this doesn't tell the entire story either, one thing is clear. Share of box office should no longer be the sole measure of success. So what measure of success will tell the entire story? What about a production that wins awards or festival prizes or portrays an important aspect of Canadian culture? Would that not reflect well on Canada and be considered a cultural success? And what about a production that breaks barriers for technical innovation, or one that introduces a great new talent in acting, directing, or producing? Would that not count as an industry success? All these categories of success, commercial, industrial, and cultural, create public value from the standpoint of a Canadian cultural agency such as Telefilm Canada. We believe that all three types of success must be part of a new measure of overall success. We will work with the industry to create a new holistic framework for measuring the industry's important contribution to Canada. Perhaps the most valuable part of this corporate planning process at Telefilm was the reality check we were able to experience. Part of this reality check involved consulting with the industry and asking tough questions. Nous avons reçu des réponses qui ont confirmé que nous devons passer à l'action rapidement et réorienter nos efforts. But our reality check did not begin and end with the industry. We went directly to Canadians with some sort of very straightforward questions. The answers were a bit disappointing, but we need to know what we're up against. While preparing for our new corporate plan, here's one simple poll question we asked the Canadian public. Do you think that the acting, directing, and production quality of Canadian movies is as good as movies made in other countries? Well, only 1 in 3 Canadians believes that our films are as good as those produced in other countries. But go back to when, 10 years ago, we would have asked the same question for the cheese or the wine. That's a bitter pill to swallow, but we must get to the bottom of this problem as an industry, and that includes Telefilm. I believe that this challenge is one that we should embrace. After all, is there a cause more relevant for a Canadian cultural agency than to inform our own people about the quality and success of our own film industry? I believe it breathes new life into our mandate to foster the development of the industry in Canada. And here is some more motivation. Only 1 in 2 Canadians believe it's important for Canadian movies to be accessible in movie theaters in Canada. And so, A big part of our new corporate plan will be focusing on stimulating audiences' demand for Canadian screen-based content. No matter how much effort and money are invested in developing talent and producing world-class productions, Canada's audiovisual industry must make this adjustment to enter the next major phase of its development. The industry needs to balance its historic focus on production with an equally robust approach to stimulate demand, wherever, whenever, and whatever. We want to take a leadership role in this movement. There are many things that we can do and more things that we can do together. I really look forward for the coming years. There's so much exciting work to do, and these 2 days were really exciting about that. That really bodes well for cooperation and collaboration at this critical time. The details of our new corporate plan are forthcoming, but now you know the principles behind it. Our industry deserves large and enthusiastic audiences in our own country and worldwide. It's an ambitious goal, but I'm convinced that together we can learn how to succeed on many new levels. And I want to leave you with one last thought. Claude Jutras a dit, ne pas tourner les films qu'on veut, c'est dur. Mais pire encore, c'est voir passer sous silence les films qu'on fait. Thank you for listening, and we really look forward to working with you.
Good morning. Thank you very, very much, Carolle, and we look forward to seeing the results of all the work you've been doing with your team, and we know that you're going to work very, very hard. I met with Carolle recently, and she shared some of her ideas with me in more detail, and I think she's on a really interesting track to get our industry going in very positive directions in the next few years.